fans. Okay, sure. Can, I thought I would think of a more active thing to say, but I just ended up writing in my journal, and I'm reading straight out of my journal. So, thank you. That's what I was gonna ask. Okay, yeah. Can you? Sorry. My name is Eva Pinjwani, and I am a college dropout. I never imagined I would be saying this to a large group of people that I admire. I moved to this country in 1992 when I was 4 years old. My parents wanted my sister and I to have a fair chance at an education. So we uprooted ourselves from a support system, from financial stability, from a home. Even though we constantly struggled with money, I never doubted I'd go to college. My whole life I was told that for a smart, driven student like me, college was a sure bet, with or without money. I was in gifted programs throughout my younger years. I competed in an academic team. I got straight A's in my honors classes, and I was accepted to attend the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. Scholarships, work study, student loans, and federal grants. I remember feeling confident it would all work out. In the beginning, it did. I graduated high school 6 months after my father unexpectedly passed away. He left our family just enough money for me to pay to become a permanent resident of the United States, 14 years after we moved here. I was accepted into UNC as a Carolina Covenant Scholar, also the recipient of a competitive 4-year merit and leadership-based scholarship. At first, I focused on maintaining the high GPA my scholarship required, but soon began to get involved with the social justice scene on campus. I took classes on the civil rights movement, on feminism, and on neoliberalism. I worked on figuring out what I wanted to do with my education. Would I go to graduate school? Would I be a labor union lawyer or a history teacher? Then life happened. I had to take a few incompletes in classes to go help my family in a time of emergency, and it dropped my GPA to just below the required level I needed. I thought I would get put on academic probation with my scholarship, allowed to continue if I showed improvement. Instead, I was asked to attend a meeting at the beginning of the semester and was told in unkind terms by an advisor who couldn't remember my first name, let alone begin to pronounce my last name, I no longer had my scholarship. Without it, I didn't have enough to cover the full cost of my education, let alone support myself. It was my junior year, spring semester, and I attempted to attend UNC as a part-time student, getting 2 jobs to help pay rent and school. I went to libraries to read copies of textbooks that I couldn't afford to buy. I woke up to go to work as a barista as early as 5:30 in the morning and got home sometimes as late as 2 a.m. from my evening job setting up tech performances. I was practically and emotionally on my own. I didn't have time to see friends with my hectic schedule. My grades began to slip. I was seemingly always exhausted and felt increasingly isolated. Enough was enough. I decided to take time off from school, to work full-time and save up to pay for my education. I rented a tiny room in an 8-bedroom apartment, sharing the space with a friend. I took odd jobs, tutoring 2 affluent young girls in algebra, and as an office assistant and housekeeper to an ailing professor, increasingly aware that unemployment rates for young people were at an all-time high, not to mention the higher percentages for people of color. I got more involved with the activist groups on campus who took me in even though I was no longer a student. I remember what I had learned about the civil rights movement of the 60s. I saw myself in the middle of the reformation of a new student movement pushing back to the neoliberal manner in which the education system was being run. Students jumping through hoops to feel like they have to earn their education. When money was tight and I couldn't afford my rent, I slept on friends' couches and floors. I still had hope. I was saving up. I wanted to follow my dreams. I wanted to be smart, talented, and driven again. Sorry, this is a little bit of an emotional topic for me. Okay. But here I am. I thought I could go back last fall, about a year and a half after saving up, and then tuition for in-state students was raised by another $1,000. Right now I'm stuck in a retail job, which I still have, and I'm still working towards it. The capitalist system wants us to feel isolated. It wants us to put our all into these meaningless jobs, to feel like we have to compete with each other for scholarships when education should be free. It wants us to feel like we have to graduate and just enter the crisis and start working more meaningless jobs to pay off our debt. But here we are, rain or shine. We're going to march, we're going to lobby, and we're going to stand up for our dreams, for my dream. Thank you for being here, and thank you for letting me speak.